among the Class 8 space frames, and Carolyn and Skulthammer were purring along nicely in their race co, despite earlier problems with ignition boxes.
Basically, I just have to finish to win the championship. It will be my third championship in a row, and that equals Des Tarberton's record, and Des was always a man that I admired, and it's good enough for me.
Saturday morning's start was a 7 o'clock one, with Richard Schilling and Rob Walk leading the pack.
I believe that the second loop is really where it's quite tough. So I believe that's where the race will be sorted out. The last portion is very fast and there's not too much skill in that area. So the second loop is where the race will happen.
This is all part of the new image I'm going to portray from it now on. I've been responsible for a lot of the degradation of this sport, and I feel myself now responsible to provide a little bit of upliftment. It's time we had a better class of character in this off-road racing. This muddy mechanic image has to disappear in future.
And away they go, with the first 6 cars being space frames. Highest placed single-seater among the top 8 was Natal's Roger Westermeyer in the Eskimo Refrigeration Orco in 4th position. Leading the Class 2s in their VW Beetle were Derek Pinoy and Antoine Mering, with our Bucky Brigade and the badly smoking Toyota Hilux of Cassie Coetzee and Wiley Harrington behind them. 10th off the start line and a couple of seconds behind Coetzee and Harrington were husband and wife team Arnold and Estelle Mathieu in the Mayerton Toyota Race Co.
No, we just started, and as we go to second gear, there was a hell of a noise in the engine, and we couldn't find what is the problem, and I smell smoke, and then next thing it's electrical fault, a hole in the block.
Despite Schilling and Walk having led at the start, a puncture and then a broken side shaft retired their Motortech Race Co from the race, and saw Springboks Bux Carolyn and Kenny Skulthammer soon pulling into the lead. The Castrol Race Co powering effortlessly through the dust. Klaus Degener and Robin Yates had started second, but a wrong slot here lost their Duckham's Chenoweth a few precious seconds. Degener has a reputation for foot-flat driving, and there was no doubt he'd make up the time easily. Besides, there's nothing he enjoys more than a top-speed dice with rival Carolyn. Leading Class 9 and third overall was Roger Westermeyer in the Eskimo Refrigeration Orco. Older vehicles like his suffer more punishment at these speeds than do the imported cars, but drivers always hope and pray their cars will last the race distance. For a change, the off-road gods were smiling on Philip Ballon and Richard Leek, whose powerful but not always reliable turbocharged Toyota Hilux had moved up to 4th overall and first in Class 6. Making a welcome return to racing were Jack Spencer and Vic Camper in the powerful Rover V8-powered Sandmaster, leading the newly introduced Class 8A. This class differs from the other Class 8s in that it incorporates only the older space frames as opposed to the newer high-tech American imports. The idea is to even out the chances among the Class 8 entries, usually the most competitive class in off-road racing. And doing his bit to prove that old needn't necessarily mean slow was Derek Pinoy along with Antoine Mering in the Class 2 Beetle. The two were way ahead of their rivals and lying in a very healthy 6th place overall. Class 5 leaders were Alfred van Veeren and Peert Pelser, who've reigned supreme in this class throughout the season. Their Toyota Hilux was lying 9th overall, and with the commercial vehicle category already theirs, finishing this event was merely a formality for them. Also class leaders, but this time of Class 3, were Theo Coetzee and Ian Wedderburn in their Chevy 510, who are lying 15th overall. Right behind them, Stratford Voigt and Guido de Greef led the charge in the Class 4. Their powerful American Toyota Hilux sounding very strong as they blasted their way through the dusty field. The Gilo Engineering Bucky was making steady progress along the route, having moved from 23rd to 16th position. More class leaders, this time in the form of the PC Warehouse Class 10 Orco, driven by Ferdy Petersen and navigated by Martin van Eerden, who was successfully keeping the opposition at bay. Meanwhile, at the motorcycle stop, Alfie Cox was ready to race in his 3rd national event since his recent return from the USA.
Yesterday was very, very fast, and today we believe it's going to be a little bit tighter as we get further out, but coming home again is going to be very fast again. So, you know, the guy with the fastest bike could pull it off today, and, you know, I'm worried about the 500s. You know, they just got so much more speed than our 250s. So if we can pull a gap before the last 100 kilometers home on our 250s, we could probably pull it off.
I think the 250s and the 500s, there's not much of a difference here because the race is very fast and open. So I think they're very equal over here now. I think we'll have a good day today.
In the motorcycle category, the 250 and 500 classes were expected to be the front runners, with flat-out speeds bound to thrill the spectators along the way. First off was Jeremy Davies on the familiar Truck Africa KTM, followed by fellow Springbok Errol Dalton on the Hatz Diesel Kawasaki. Natal's Alfie Cox has an inimitable riding style, and here he and his Fortfire Kawasaki show why he's considered one of South Africa's best riders. Powering his way through the Thaba Nchu Sun on his Pelham Products KTM was John Hodgson, who was sitting fourth in class and riding as consistently as always. Young Bevan Berthold was the first privateer among the top 10 and maintaining his pace on the KTM. Newly capped Springbok Sun City Honda rider Kevin Tebbit rode a hard and fast race, while behind him the first of the 200 class was setting a cracking pace. Chasing Yuri Human on the Hatz Diesel Kawasaki was Winston Yamaha rider Brian Bonterkoenen. There was drama for RP Reyneke and Lucas Dreyer, who smacked a tree in their BP Ford. Reyneke gave us some details.
Ons het gery agter die kar wat net voor ons was en ons het probeer verbygaan. In die proses was dit teen 'n helling geweest, dit was nat geweest, die gras is nat en het ons begin gly en ons voertuig het oorgereageer, oversteer soos die Engels sê. En ons kon hom net nie beheer nie en die volgende oomblik is teen 'n boom gebots. En dit was die einde van ons dag geweest.
And drama too for Klaus Degener and Robin Yates, whose petrol cans had taken in rainwater and had unknowingly been emptied into the Chenoweth's tank.
Put water in instead of petrol. Now this is a very silly thing to do, and we're not pleased with our service crew at all. And they're going to have their fingers smacked several times when we get back to the hotel.
Just outside Veppena, Carolyn and Skolthammer were going flat out, their Porsche-engined raceco performing effortlessly. At this pace, there was little chance of any of the competitors catching them before the finish. Way behind the dust of their raceco, Roger Westermeyer was going at top speed, having worked his way up to second position and still leading Class 9 in the Eskimo Refrigeration Orco. Unbeknown to Westermeyer, pressure was arriving in the form of the powerful Toyota Hilux of Philip Milan and Richard Leek, which was approaching hard and fast. The Bucky team was to ultimately overtake Westermeyer's single-seater, who dropped back and finished 7th overall and second in class at the end of the day. Lying fifth and going like the clappers were the Mateers in their Mayerton Toyota Raceco. They've had a relatively unsuccessful year in their new space frame, but were hoping to end the season with a good result. Second in Class 6 and 7th overall were Linton Draper, recently returned from racing in America, and Mike Pretorius in the Draper Excavator Hire Nissan Safari. Shaping well in the Rapsa Raceco were the Alberts brothers, Nardis and Paul. Nardis used to navigate for Robin Yates, but since buying the Raceco from his former driver, he's proved he's no slouch behind the steering wheel. For Greg Weevil and Warren Claassen, their race was to end before the finish when they broke the suspension of their Raceco Kojima. Back among the two-wheelers, Jeremy Davies was still in fine form as he rode into the first refuel point. Unfortunately, his luck didn't hold, and problems further on were to slow him down considerably. A rear puncture forced him to limp back to the service area to carry out repairs, waste valuable time and allow Alfie Cox to surge into the lead.
Okay. No, I can't see, man. Put in the lens, it's too dark. I think Alfie had a problem. He's coming. No, but I think he had a problem. Okay. You go straight out, hey? Straight.
And Alfie was indeed on his way. With not just one, but two moose problems and then running out of fuel, Davies was to drop way back down the field while Cox took the lead and stayed there for the remainder of the race. Giving him a run for his money was 500 rider Errol Dalton on the Hatz diesel Kawasaki. Bad luck befell Dalton, however, when he wrong slotted near the finish and finally came home 5th overall. At this stage, Yuri Human was 3rd overall on the 200 Pro Honda Kawasaki and looking good as he blazed a trail of dust along the dirt roads. Barreling along at a good rate of knots on the Pelham Products KTM was John Hodgson, who didn't seem at all bothered by the dusty conditions which made visibility difficult at times. With a collapsed rear wheel and a long way to go to the service point, Jeremy Davies rode standing up to relieve the weight at the rear of the Truck Africa KTM. At this stage, he was down to 5th position, but knew that if he nursed the bike home, a finish would still secure him the 250 championship. Ever the showman, Winston Yamaha rider Brian Bontekoning was going along in fine style. Still leading the vehicles were Bux Carolyn and Kenny Skolthammer in their Castrol Raceco. Lying second were Philip Milan and Richard Leake in the Toyota Hilux, applying pressure from the rear with the two racecos of Arnold and Estelle Mattia and Nardis and Paul Alberts. With their buckies sounding as good as new and still leading Class 5 and lying 5th overall were Alfred van Vuren and Piet Pelser in the Sasol Toyota Hilux. Restoring the honour and glory to Natal was Rob Gibson in his Sealcoat Chenoweth, who after overtaking Roger Westermeyer went on to win Class 9 and take a well-deserved 6th overall. Lying second in Class 2 behind Derek Pinoy and Antoine Mering was Wilfried Westlau and Dagmar Blankner in the VW Brett Van Beetle. Making incredibly good time was Harry Roscoe in the Protea Playing Card Raceco. Due to wrong slotting the day before, Roscoe had started the second section half an hour behind the leaders. His troubles weren't over yet, though, and later he was plagued by engine misfires. Putting in a good show in Class 6 were Cliff Barker and Mike Redden in their SVM, who are lying 3rd in class. Barker is one of the original designers and developers of the SVM, and if anybody knows how his vehicle works, Barker does. Off-road stalwarts Jackie Weldon and Andy Peaceful, who are lying second in Class 5, have had a consistent season in their new Comnitech Isuzu, a vehicle much faster and reliable than their original Class 10 space frame. Back on two wheels, and Alfie Cox was still in the lead on the Fort Fire Kawasaki, a blaze of bright green among the Thaba Nchu countryside. Lying a spectacular second was Yuri Human, who was obviously having the time of his life on the Pro Honda Kawasaki and making it look all so easy. Behind Human was the Pelham Products KTM of John Hodgson, as skillful as ever and still going consistently fast. Brian Bontekoning, who was to finish 6th overall in the 200 championship class, wasn't that slow either. He was hanging on the cable with the throttle wide open and at this stage lying 4th overall. Dropping back to 5th place, which is where he eventually finished, was Errol Dalton on the Hatz diesel Kawasaki. Nevertheless, he still finished 3rd in the 500 championship class, only 12 points behind leader Kevin Tebbett. Graham McLaughlin on the Lesotho Office Equipment Kawasaki rode home to take 6th overall and 3rd in class. In the championship stakes, he finished 4th in the 200 category. Another win plus the championship title for Carolyn and Skoltham.
That was the way to go out. If you're going to go out guiding glory, they know that we've given them a carrot once and for all. That's it. We enjoyed the race. It was very fast. If it had been wet, it would have been something else. But seeing it was so dry, it was quick. But it was. Kenny and I enjoyed ourselves. We had fun. Nobody could catch us today.
37 vehicles finished the event, 20 of which were space frames, 12 buckies and the rest buggies. Alfie Cox won the motorcycle category on his Fourth Fire Kawasaki, his second national win since his return home a few months ago.
This morning Jeremy and I were going together, and I had to stop and repair my side cover on my bike. I lost almost 3 minutes on him. So I came back to 2 minutes again, and just after the service point for the first time, Jeremy got a puncture in the rear wheel. So I caught him up past him, and he had to go slowly now to get back to the service again to repair the rear wheel, you know. And I've had Errol Dalton just behind me, you know, about 100 kilometers out. And I've been worried because it's a 500 and, you know, he's just so much faster on the fast roads. But the marking was excellent. It was a magic event. I really, really enjoyed it.
A total of 33 motorcycles finished this very quick race, the 200 class seeming to dominate the leading entries. Everyone agreed it was a great event with which to end the season.